Alright, Merciless Vaughn back with another video, and in this one we're going to be going over the April Limit Breaker quest. So we're just going to go over the stage rules, talk about the best in slot characters, and some substitute characters you can use if you don't have the best ones. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, leave a like. If you're new to the channel or you've been here for a while, subscribe and help me get to 300 subscribers. I'm making my way there. And with all that said, let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see, this Limit Breaker quest is going to be available the 1st all the way to the 17th, so you have a couple weeks to do it, but the sooner you get it done the better, so you don't forget about it. So we can just go ahead and take a look at the stage rules. Let's see, for slot 1 we're going to have technique, range, damage, and killer effect times 5 with the burn status element. So you're going to be looking for a range, technique, or rank or killer unit that's immune to the burn status effect. And let's go ahead and take a look at the next slot. Here we have heart attribute, range attack damage, and killer effect times 5 with the freeze status element. So you're going to look for a heart human ranged unit with the, that's immune to the freeze status element. If it's not immune to the status elements, I mean, it's okay, you just have to play a lot more carefully. And for the last slot, we just have speed Quincy unit, so any technique Quincy unit killer will work here. If they're immune to the paralysis status element, that's cool too. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the characters that help clear this one. Alright, so the past few Limit Breaker quests, they usually have the first slot as the best in slot unit, probably one of the newer characters in the banner that released around the time. And so the best in slot character for the first slot will be this 1000-year Blood War Rangeku. She's just one of the new units in the current end of month banner that's going on right now. She has a soul trait of strong attack damage inflicted at full stam 40%. She has the enemies defeated gimmick. At 20 enemies defeated, you get 20% full stam, 40 enemies defeated, 40% full stammed. She's a ranged unit with lacerate and freeze. Well, the freeze is only on her soul bomb, lacerate is on everything else. So she will have all of the bonus damage perks for the first slot, and she is immune to fire. She recovers stamina in between stages, so if you get hit, she will be healing your party members. At full stamina only, 40% strong attack damage, havoc 20%, frenzy +2. She does come with weakened defense, long strike, the status element spiritual pressure boost, and she does 40% more damage to status element affected enemies. Another unit you can use is this Notoria. He's more of a guild quest unit, as you can see here. He just has the increased killer effect skills that are only going to be active in guild quests. And he is a ranged unit, so you will have that range damage. He has weakening on all of his attacks, and he does have the damage to weaken enemies 40%. So this is definitely a usable unit that you can use. Just know that, some of these skills won't really be taking effect because he's not in a guild quest. Now, another unit you can use is this Kaname. He was a mid-month unit from a while ago now. He has a soul trait of normal attack damage 30%. He's a melee unit, so you won't get that range damage. He has flurry +1. And he does have a couple guild quest skills, so this is just another guild quest unit. He does start the barrier off with +10, which is good. He has an increased technique attribute character normal attack damage +20%. Flurry +1, and he has a 60% bruiser. And another unit we can use is going to be the 1000-year Blood War Eyes, and this unit is coming up on 2 years old now. He was the part 2 banner for the 7th anniversary. Normal attack damage of 20%. He is a ranged unit, so you will have that increased range damage effect. All of his attacks have weakening except his SA2. He does have a barrier and, boosts on his SA2. He does come with the gauge effect, and when he activated, he gets 100% bruiser and 50% decreased damage taken. He's immune to fire. Strong attack recharge 30% when his gauge is activated, a 60% bruiser. Flurry +1, he does have the increased status element chance against speed attribute enemies, which is good. He does have enhancer, poise, multi-barrier, and the status element attack boost. So you will be proccing this skill up a lot often than characters that don't have the increased status element chance skill. So this is definitely a older unit, but still usable. Any unit that has a gauge effect will definitely be good. And just having a boost on his SA2 and the enhancer will be good as well. And here's pretty much an honorable mention. The Cacao Society Grimjo, he's coming up on 3 years old now. I believe he's already 3 years old, if he's not already. But he has a strong attack, recharge time of 12%. He is a melee unit, so you won't get the range bonus of damage. His strong attacks aren't that bad. He does have weakening, and he does have the damage to weaken enemies 20% skill. He also does have Frenzy plus 2, Havoc 20%, Defibrillator plus 5 seconds, and increased damage to status element affected enemies 20%. So yeah, I think this character is really good because, you know, he does have Frenzy plus 2, damage to weaken enemies, and his strong attacks do hit hard. And you can charge his SA3, which isn't a bad strong attack at all. Alright, so for the Heart Human Killer unit stages, as you can see, we don't have a lot of options. We have the 1000-year Blood War Curio. She has a Soul Trader strong attack, recharge time minus 14%. She is a ranged unit, so you will get the bonus range damage. She has paralysis on her strong attacks, except for her SA2. Her SA2 is a boost, and she does heal on it. She has the medic skill, so the healing you get from your SA2 will, you know, just heal you for a lot more. She's immune to the freeze status element, so you don't have to worry about that. Frenzy plus 2, Havoc, damage to paralyzed enemies 40%, enhancer and booster, so that SA2 will just, you know, buff you up and your party a lot more. And the status element spiritual pressure boost skill. So yeah, if you have this unit, this is definitely the best in slot 1. She doesn't have a lot of skills, but she will definitely get the job done. The enhancer and booster skills will help that SA2 out a lot. Alright, so another unit you can use is this old Kira. His soul trait is damage to drained enemies plus 35%. He is a ranged unit, so you will get the bonus range damage drained on all of his attacks. He has the full stamina damage boost 20% as an innate skill, and also the increased strong attack damage as an innate skill as well. So he does have a chance to dodge human damage, so half the time you really won't be getting hit if the human enemies do attack you. Frenzy plus 1, Havoc 20%, increased status element chance against mind attribute enemies. Sharpshooter and increased heart attribute or ranker damage to status element affected enemies 40%. So pretty solid unit for this limit breaker quest. And you know, him having drained and the increased status element chance, he'll pretty much stay at full health, so you really have no problem healing with this unit. And also being able to dodge half of the human enemies hits is good as well. Alright, so this Saiporo, you can use him. His soul trait is damage to lacerated enemies 40%. He's a melee unit, so you won't get the increased range damage, but he does have lacerate and poison on all of his status effects. He has contaminator and lacerator, which will just, you know, inflict his status ailments every 5 seconds. Laceration duration minus 100%, but that's going to be pretty much useless since there's going to be freeze on the ground. Havoc 20%, Frenzy plus 1. Increase heart attribute or ranker damage to status element affected enemies 40%, and he does have damage to his status elements 40% and Sprinter plus 1. So yeah, if you don't have the first two units, this is definitely a usable option. The lacerate will not be all that bad, deal some damage over time, as well as the poison status element. Alright, so probably the best in slot unit for the third stage will be this Ichibe. He has 2 killers, but the one you need to worry about is the Quincy one. Soul Trader, strong attack recharge time minus 12%. There is no increased damage for melee or range, so using a melee or range unit really won't matter here, but he's a melee unit with weakening on all of his attacks. He does have the gauge effects, which will give him Berserker 100% and Frenzy plus 1. He is immune to the paralysis resistance, so you don't have to worry about that. He will start off the mission with 70% of his gauge already filled. He'll reduce his strong attacks by 30%. And he will also get the spiritual pressure boost 50% when his gauge is activated. He has the gauge rampage skill, Havoc 20%, Frenzy plus 1. So when your gauge is activated, you will get Frenzy plus 2. The Hero Bombardment, Defibrillator plus 5 seconds, Weakened Defense, and Marauder. So yeah, he's a Quincy killer unit, and he's immune to the paralysis status element, and he has a gauge effect that will give him Frenzy plus 2 when it is active, and also the status element for spiritual pressure boost. So definitely the best in slot unit for the 3rd stage. A substitute unit you can use if you don't have the Ichibe is the 1000 Year Blood War Chojiro. His soul trait is the speed drop to drop plus 30%. He has paralysis on all of his attacks and he is a melee unit. Havoc 20%, devastation 60%, reduce strong attack cooldown 12%, and he just has some farming skills, so this unit is just kind of basically a farming unit. Frenzy plus 2, Defibrillator plus 5 seconds, increased status element chance against the speed attribute enemies. Increased technique special move damage 30%. Increased technique attribute soul reaper damage to status element affected enemies 40%. And damage to paralyzed enemies 40%. So yeah, with the increased status element chance skill and the damage to paralysis enemies 40%, yeah, this unit will do a tad bit of damage to those enemies. You just gotta make sure you inflict those status elements, which will be easy to do with this skill right here. Another option is this Lillianette. She has a strong attack recharge time of 12% for her soul trait. She has Lacerate on all of her attacks. She's a melee unit. She also has Lacerator, which will inflict her status element every 5 seconds. She has a devastation of 40%. Increased technique attribute and rank her strong attack damage 20%. Frenzy plus 1, Defibrillator plus 2 seconds damage to lacerated enemies 60%. Poise and the Pierce Barrier skill. So yeah, this was a mid-month unit, so just the skills here are just pretty typical for a mid-month unit. Alright, so here we have a Lunar New Year's Rukia. She's old, she's a year old now, and she came out last year. Her soul trait is the strong attack recharge time minus 14%. Freeze and Lacerate on all of her attacks. She is a ranged unit. She's immune to poison, and she does have damage to frozen enemies 40%. Frenzy plus 1, Defibrillator plus 5 seconds, increased status element chance, increased technique attribute, soul reaper damage to status element affected enemies 40%, weakened defense, and sprinter plus 1. So yeah, just another option if you don't have the Ichibe. This is a unit that you can use as well. Here's another option you can use is this Riruka. She's a really old unit at this point. She's a ranged unit. And she's also a ranged nav unit with weakening on all of her abilities. She's not immune to the status element that is currently in this limit break request. She has Flurry plus 1, Poise, Guard Break. So yeah, I mean, me personally, you can never go wrong with a ranged nav unit because I particularly like nav units as long as they're good. But you know, as a unit this old, she probably won't be all that good as well. And so yeah, that was pretty much all of the units for the last slot. So the 2nd and 3rd slots, there are not a lot of options. So if you really don't have the best in slot ones or maybe the first couple of substitute options, then you'll probably have a tough time. But yeah, that was all the best in slot characters and some substitute ones. I'm gonna go ahead and make my team and see what we can do. Alright, so here's going to be my team for this limit break request. For the Aizen, I'm going to be using this one. Here are the accessories. And as for the character links, I went for some recharge and full stem links just because, you know, full stem links are really good. The more damage you will have at full stem, the better. And, you know, just for the strong attack cooldown, just so I can get his SA2 back as fast as possible since he does have the boost on his SA skill and also the barrier as well. My Aizen is 5 out of 5. Max Transcendent with the, you know, 3-star attack in the last slot. And as for the bonus abilities, full stam and the plus 200 attack. And as for the next one, unfortunately, I do not have any, you know, good art human killer units. I have these units here, but let's be honest, I'm not using those. So what I did was I just went with one of the strongest heart units that I have, which is the 2022 1000 Year Blood War Ichigo. He is 5 out of 5 max transcendent, and he recovers stamina in between stages, so if for some reason I get hit, I will be able to heal up a little bit. He is immune to all status elements, so I really don't have to worry about the status elements that are on the ground. And as for the bonus abilities, I gave him full stam and the plus 200 SP. And last but not least, I went with this Riruka mostly because I do have her 5 out of 5. She's not max transcendent, but I just mostly left these at level 1 because I really don't use this unit that often. And the bonus abilities will be full stam and the plus 200 attack. So definitely not the best team for this limit breaker quest, but gotta make do with what you have. So let's jump into it and see what happens. Alright, so here we are. I don't think I'll have a problem with this Aizen just because this Aizen is really good. I mean, I do have to build up my gauge effect as much as possible though, just to take advantage of that. This Ichigo shouldn't really have a problem either. Since he doesn't have any status elements, he does have to increase, damage to enemies not affected by an element, which is good. This Riruka, her SA2 isn't that bad, it just kind of like sucks the enemies in and pushes them away. But it doesn't track, that's the only bad thing about it. Wait a minute. Oh, no, I messed up. It is fire here, so this Aizen will be immune to the status element. So I made a mistake earlier when I said he won't be immune to it. That's my bad. Yeah, gotta be careful with those human enemies. I did stick some hits there. The only problem will probably really be those extremely tanky units. These are not really the best in slot units. I'll probably have a hard time killing them, but we haven't gotten there yet. Are these attack enemies? Yep, and they got destroyed. And I just so happen to activate my gauge too right on time. Now there, what I should have did, I should have refreshed my SA2, but I was just kind of moving a bit too fast. Yeah, not having killer here will pretty much hurt this Ichigo. Yeah, we'll probably be a while, so I'll cut to when these enemies are dead. So we have the tanky enemies coming up here for this Riruka, so that will definitely be a problem, so I'll just probably cut to when they're dead. Actually, I'll just go ahead and soul bomb here. That way they can be weakened. Yeah, see, in this scenario, this is why I like nag units. I don't have to wait for my strong attacks to get off cooldown. Okay, so those tanky enemies weren't that much of a problem, so this is going better than I thought it would. And that's pretty much it for all of the stages. The most troublesome units are definitely going to be these human enemies because they just hit really hard and their attack strengths are just like really fast. But if you can get through those stages with no problems, then the rest should be easy. Quincy enemies can be kind of tricky though. So I don't remember what I said earlier, but yeah, this Aizen is going to be a best in slot unit because he is immune to the fire resistance. I don't know. I don't know why I thought it said freeze. I'm tripping. I thought it was freeze, and paralysis, but it's fire, freeze, and paralysis. That's my mistake. Yeah, this isn't bad, actually. This is not bad at all. I still have my gauge up. No, these are the extremely tanky enemies right here. I lost my gauge, but I still have the status element attack boost up. And we have the increased status element chance, so as soon as it went down, it came right back up. I'll wait a second here to refresh my SA2 just so I can get the boost. There. I already used my soul. I think we might be done here because it's going to take me just too long to kill these enemies. But yeah, you definitely do want to bring if you have one of those units with killer, you definitely want to bring them. And yeah, I lost my full stem, so this is probably the end of the run here. Alright, so that was going to be the April Limit Breaker quest. This Riruka, actually, she surprised me, but I guess for a melee NAD unit that was, you know, max percented 5 out of 5 and having killer, she did some pretty decent damage. The only problem was this Ichigo because I didn't have killer, but if I had killer here, I would have been able to take care of those enemies a lot faster. That's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. And as usual, until next time.